Alright, hello and welcome to another video. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing something that's probably you know of. I'd say you most definitely know or have heard of coral bleaching. But not just any type of coral bleaching. Well, actually, yes, it's pretty much just coral bleaching. But what I'm going to be discussing here is the habitat loss that we're going to be experiencing in 2100. According to new research that's just come out from San Diego, stating that coral bleaching effects are not only the things we have to worry about, but also the restoration that comes afterwards, and if these habitats are going to be able to restore the corals that are lost. With that said, let's start the intro and get this show on the road. The increase in surface temperature and ocean acidity are causing coral communities to suffer dramatically, with coral bleaching and the die-off of coral communities. Researchers from San Diego have released a brand new research paper stating that 70 to 90% of coral communities will be declining in 20 years. This prediction is based upon the fact that the increase in human-induced climate change and pollution entering the water are having a dramatic effect on all the coral communities in specific areas or globally. To combat this mass extinction event that's currently or potentially going to happen, a lot of researchers are now looking into possible habitable areas in which they can place lab-grown corals to, I guess you could say, curb the declining numbers or future extinction that may occur. However, new research into this subject on where habitable areas are for coral communities has identified that by 2100 there's going to be little to no habitable places for corals to grow. In order to identify a stable or habitable environment for these coral species, the researchers or the study would look into the sea surface temperature as well as the acidity of the environment that the corals will be going into, deeming that these two factors are one of the greatest identifiers for rehabilitation in certain environments for coral species. The researchers have stated that although human-induced climate change and global warming have a huge dramatic effect on the ocean and its inhabitants, they've shown that corals are of the utmost affected out of every single species in these oceans. Why? I'll get to that right now. Why are corals worse off than many other species, you may be wondering? Imagine this. Imagine coral communities, or a coral reef will be a better example, as a very populated city. Okay, the corals are the buildings, the destinations, the places that these organisms go to. Okay, each road is connected to these buildings because they've got to get somewhere fast, right? They've got to get to their destination. They have to get to their job. These jobs include feeding. These jobs include resting, sleeping, mating, migrating, shifting coral species around, creating brand new coral species. You've got everything so delicately interwoven, interconnected in these environments that a single shift in anything, be it the water temperature, be it the nitrogen, be it the, I guess you could say, overall chemical composition of the water and its acidity, everything will fall apart rather quickly. Corals are highly sensitive to temperature changes. And what I mean by highly sensitive is that a single increase in a degree of temperature of the ocean where corals reside can cause mass bleaching events. And what I mean by that is they expel their zooxanthellae. The part of the ocean that's hit the hardest, and I guess you could say it's a no-brainer, is the sea surface. It's in the name, sea surface temperature. The place that's hit the hardest is the place that corals reside. There's plenty other reasons for coral bleaching to occur, for coral communities to die off, that is not only just sea surface temperature. You've got salinity changes, nitrogen changes, runoff, severe storms, etc. You've got a plethora of results. But the biggest is sea surface temperature and ocean acidity. A study published in Nature Sustainability from the universities of Delaware, California, Santa Barbara, and Hokkaido have shown that many species many fish species that are commercially important to the fishing industry are moving further south or towards cooler waters as the sea surface temperature increases. This is a bit of extra research into the fact that it's not only corals that are being affected, it's every species in the ocean. What they discovered were that fish stocks in tropical waters were depleting or declining because a lot of the fish species wanted to move further south towards the cooler, more, I guess you could say, temperature stable environments that they're used to. What they're stating is that the sea surface temperature or the temperature of the ocean is shifting so much to the point where species have to move from their original habitat, the place that they've probably grown, the place that they migrate to, into a different area and shift their or adapt their entire migratory pattern or their entire living space. Northwestern Africa showed the highest percentage loss in fish species as a result of these sea surface temperatures, with predictions of 6 to 25% by 2050 and 30 to 58% by 2100. So how's all of this happening? How are we getting a prediction of habitat loss for coral species by 2100 and you're getting fish stocks depleting in the tropics, moving fish species down to cooler waters? Easy. Name of this video: sea surface temperature and ocean acidity from human-induced climate change and global warming injecting large amounts of CO2 into the ocean environment. And as you may or may not know, the ocean is the largest carbon sink on the planet. And what I mean by that is they take up a lot of the CO2 from the atmosphere. In 2013, the IPCC report identified that the oceans took up roughly 93% of carbon from greenhouse gas emissions from the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution. Modeling studies from that exact same report identified that sea surface temperatures will increase by 1 to 4 degrees Celsius by 2100. This prediction coincides with the fact that coral bleaching events are increasing and are expected to continue to increase to 2100 to the point where coral habitats will be unable to rehabilitate, be it naturally or man-made. However, delving into this type of area is rather grey. And what I mean by grey is that the statistical evidence or the statistical analyses are rather full of anomalies, I guess you could say. There's a lot of grey spots that we still have yet to figure out the kinks. Things are constantly changing, areas are constantly shifting, the environment's going back and forth. Okay? What we do know for a fact is that yes, global temperatures are increasing. Yes, CO2 numbers are increasing in the atmosphere. There's too much. There's not enough being taken out. There's too much being pumped in. Too much of it is being absorbed by the ocean. We know that for a fact. The ocean in the terrestrial environment can only take up so much before it's too much for it to handle. I just said too much multiple times in one sentence. I'm gonna stop. All in all, what are the solutions? It's all doom and gloom at this point, right? What are the solutions? It's rather easy to say, rather difficult to do. Combat and advocate climate change. These are the solutions given by the paper, by the research study. They've said that the removal of pollution, the removal of plastic and whatnot from the ocean is great. Keep doing that. It's something we have to keep doing collectively. But another thing we need to do collectively, and something that is definitely important, is the application and removal and mitigation of climate change. Human-induced climate change. Climate change is normal. Human-induced, not so much. It's a bit much for the environment to handle. And we're seeing that. But I hope you liked that video. Make sure you educate, don't eradicate. I'll see you guys for another video next week, next Wednesday. Not next week, in 2 weeks. I hope you guys have a good one. Catch you later.